Hello everybody. Hello YouTube. Hello art history enthusiasts and visual culture aficionados. It's me again, Miss M. And I'm back with yet another video. And this time, what am I going to be talking about this time? Again, I'm not entirely sure. But as you can see, I've lined up my tabs. So I did a little bit of preparing. And I hope I did an okay job. I wanted to talk about something relatively quickly, at least quickly for me. I hope this doesn't take an hour. It shouldn't, but you never know. But before I get started with anything, here we are at the homepage of my channel. Just, again, always, just so that you know you're in the right place, the object of art. And this is my latest video, Scooby-Doo and Wax Fruit. Yes, that's the title. And I did that one yesterday. I hope it made at least a little bit of sense. I'm not sure. But what do I want to talk about today? In the middle of all the other things I want to talk about, I always get these ridiculous ideas for videos. And I say to myself, you know what, let me just go ahead and do it before I forget about it. And what are we going to talk about? What am I going to talk about today? This. Everybody's been talking about this lately, so it kind of inspired me. I've been, hearing stuff about the latest film that's being made, not about this TV show, but I guess, I don't even know if I could call it a remake, but I guess a reboot or whatever of this TV show. As you can see the title on the screen, if you can't see it, The Munsters. That wonderful show that so many of us loved so much when we were youngsters. And I chose this title card because, if I'm not mistaken, this title card is from, like, the original pilot of the show. The color, not black and white, but color pilot of the show that very few people have seen. It's really interesting. It's really different from what the show that everybody knows. But that was kind of the thing that kicked everything off. And this, the green slimy letters and the dilapidated rickety-dickety old house in the background. That's what we all remember. That house. That house is just everything. And they're supposed to be doing, like, a redo or a reboot or a remake. And of course, I like Wikipedia, so here's one. I think I'm just doing two Wikipedia links for this video. This is, of course, the Wikipedia article for the show itself. The Munsters is an American sitcom depicting the home life of a family of benign monsters. The series starred Fred Gwynne as Frankenstein's monster and head of the household Herman Munster, Yvonne DiCarlo as his vampire wife Lily, Al Lewis as Lily's father, Grandpa, the somewhat over-the-hill vampire Count Dracula, who longs for the good old days in Transylvania, Beverly Owen, later replaced by Pat Priest as their teenage niece Marilyn, who is attractive by conventional standards but the quote-unquote ugly duckling of the family, and Butch Patrick as their werewolfish son, Eddie. Okay. It was produced by the creators of Leave It to Beaver. Why am I not surprised? The series was a satire of American suburban life, as well as both traditional monster movies and the wholesome family fare of the era. It achieved higher Nielsen ratings than the similarly macabre-themed The Addams Family, which I also love. I might want to do a video about that too, who knows, which aired concurrently on ABC. Okay, so these two shows were on the TV in the 60s, both at the same time. That must have been an interesting time to be alive in America. But anyway, so you can go ahead and read the rest of it yourself. the regulars, the recurring characters, the episodes, the derivative works. Okay, and Rob Zombie's Reboot. Okay, so Reboot was the correct word. So the derivative works, I'm a purist. I really don't like them at all. Any of them. Maybe the Munster movies, but, you know, starring the original cast, except they had to always get a new Marilyn. But this Rob Zombie movie is the reason why everybody's talking about the show lately. And in 2021, Rob Zombie was hired to write and direct a Munsters movie which will receive a theatrical release, excuse me, while also being streamed on Peacock. The film is set to be released in the fall of 2022. In October 2021, Zombie released a photo confirming some of the cast being that of Jeff Daniel Phillips, Sherry Moon Zombie, and Dan Roebuck. Okay. I can only hope that he does a good job. I adore Rob Zombie, and I adore his band and everything, but you don't mess with the Munsters. If you're going to do the Munsters, do it right. Or don't do it at all. I've got so many opinions. I didn't know I had so many opinions about this. I really didn't know I had so many opinions about this before I started making this video, but I guess I do. And, you know, I'm making a video, I might as well tell you. I love Rob Zombie, and I love the Munsters. He better not do like what they did back in, what was it, the Munsters Today? Those of you of a certain age might remember that show. It was on TV, lasted for 72 episodes. That's a miracle. It wasn't very good. Okay? All right? That's all I'm going to say. So, I hope it's not like that. I really hope it's not like that. But I do think that Rob Zombie has a certain artistic gift. So I'm just going to give him... What was I going to say? The benefit of the doubt? No, it's not the benefit of the doubt. I'm just going to reserve judgment until the thing finally is released in, what is it, fall 2022? Okay, all right. But anyway, just like I didn't see Dr. Sleep, because I refuse to, as a sequel to The Shining. It's allegedly it's supposed to be. I'm not going to see it. I don't want to see it. I never will see it. You don't mess with The Shining. Period. All right? There is no such thing as a sequel to Stanley Kubrick's The Shining. There can never be. So that's why I'm a little. I'm going to reserve my judgment, but, you know, that's it. That's all I'm going to say about that. But I'm not talking about the reboot movie today. I'm talking about the original show. All right? And yes, please do check out this Wikipedia page. Educate yourself about the show. This is one heck of a show. And also the Internet Movie Database page for the show. Ever so many photographs. If you're into photographs, look at this. There's 769 of them. And they're all pretty darn good. So take a look at that. This is the top cast. I think I already read a couple of these names. Right. Fred Gwynne, Al Lewis, Yvonne DiCarlo, Butch Patrick, Beverly Owen, and then Pat Priest. Okay. And all these other marvelous actors from back in the day. A lot of people, you just don't know their names, but they were very popular and they were very good. They were very good performers, very good entertainers. Now, what do I want to show a couple of these photographs that I found on the internet of the interior of the home. I only found one that, like, I really wanted to use, this one of the living room. That house that, you know, in the show, that house is just everything. There's even, I think, a couple people in Texas who have done a home. They've built a home that's a replica of this TV home, the Munsters TV home. And they open up it, and they open it up to the public, I think, every so often, and people come and visit, and these people actually live there. And, you know, sounds fun. Sounds actually really fun, but I don't know. I don't know if it has all the cobwebs or whatever, but the inside of this house is really interesting, and I haven't really seen it explored very much online. This is another photo that I think is really great. The family, except, you know, it's missing Eddie. But I think this is like season 1, because Beverly Owen is there. Grandpa's makeup is a little different, and so on. They're all gathered around like a big happy family around the cauldron. But one YouTube channel that does an amazing job of like giving you a computer simulated tour of a lot of these famous TV and movie homes is this lady, Marina Coates, Mockingbird Lane. She even named her channel and Mockingbird Lane. I guess she's a Munsters fan too. And she's done so many of them. So many of them. I Dream of Jeannie, The Dick Van Dyke Show, The Jeffersons, The Apartment of the I Love Lucy show, The Andy Griffith Show House. I mean, she has really done an amazing... Oh, The Honeymooners, everything. Everything. Kitchens, like, amazing. She is just amazing. Please go to her channel. Please subscribe. I have, and I've never regretted it for 1 second. But these are her videos that she does for the Munsters. She does the CG tour, part 1, okay, and part 2. And again, this is that iconic first shot of the exterior of the house that started off every episode of the show. But why am I here? I'll link to her channel so you can take a look at her stuff. But why am I really here? I'm not here just because I like the Munsters. I mean, come on now. I do. I love this show. I watched it when I was a kid. Saturdays in the afternoon, it was on TV. It was, I guess, I don't know. Was this a show that was meant to appeal to children? I don't know, and I'm not sure. But there's something about this show that no other show has ever done. It's entertaining. They use these like old Hollywood scary movie, horror movie characters, and they make them, as just like Wikipedia says, a family of benign monsters. They're monsters, but they're not mean. They're nice. Yeah, and that's why I'm here. That I clicked on this. They're nice. They're not terrifying. You're not afraid of them when you're watching the show. Look at them. Look how happy they all are. You want to live in that house. You want to be a member of that family. As, you know, as odd as they are. But there's something a little bit off. And it's her. It's her. Marilyn. What's up with Marilyn? In, like, you know, in the real world, in the world outside of the Munsters home and the Munsters family and their extended family and whatever, Marilyn is considered very attractive. You know, basically perfect. Outside of their family. But inside of their family, Marilyn is considered the, what do they call her? Here? Marilyn. She was attractive by conventional standards, but the ugly duckling of the family. Okay? Think about that for a second. She was considered the ugly duckling of this family. And people watching the show, like, always had a hard time with it. Whether you admit it or not, like, understanding this character, the Marilyn character, this does a number on you psychologically. And you're like, yeah, okay, so in this family, what the rest of the world, or not the rest of the world, but what is normally or conventionally considered beautiful, isn't. She's blonde. She doesn't look ghoulish. She doesn't have green or gray or whatever skin. She looks like a typical, pretty blonde California girl. She looks like an actress or a model, because she is. The lady who played her, I think she was. The first one and the second one, both Beverly Owen and Pat Priest, were, very pretty actresses from that time. And those clothes she wore looked, those were, oh my goodness, so pretty. Whoever designed her costumes did a great job, But what is it about this character? And what is it about this show in general? In the walls of this home, a certain idea of beauty exists. Outside of the walls of that home, it's totally inverted. Okay. So, what's going on? And that's why I wanted to connect this show to the idea of aesthetics. It's hard, maybe we can use that, because my channel has to do with art history, visual culture, and all of the things related to that. And aesthetics is definitely related to art history. Okay? Let me just get going. I don't want to take too much time with this, but I don't know how much time I'm going to need. Aesthetics, or aesthetics, whatever, is a branch of philosophy that deals with the nature of beauty and taste, as well as the philosophy of art, its own area of philosophy that comes out of aesthetics. It examines aesthetic values, often expressed through judgments of taste. Aesthetics covers both natural and artificial sources of aesthetic experience and judgment. It considers what happens in our minds when we engage with aesthetic objects or environments, such as viewing visual art, listening to music, reading poetry, experiencing a play, or exploring nature. The philosophy of art specifically studies how artists imagine, create, and perform works of art, as well as how people use, enjoy, and criticize art. Aesthetics considers why people like some works of art and not others, as well as how art can affect moods or even our beliefs. Both aesthetics both aesthetics and the philosophy of art ask questions like, what is art? I talked about that in one of my videos. But ask questions like, what is art? What is a work of art? And what makes good art? All very important questions. Scholars in the field have defined aesthetics as critical reflection of art, culture, and nature. In modern English, the term aesthetic can also refer to a set of principles underlying the works of a particular art movement or theory. One speaks, for example, of a Renaissance aesthetic. Okay. So, I read all of that because I felt compelled to. I'm not going to read all the rest of this, but I urge you to. Okay. I'm going to click on this one having to do with beauty, right? Beauty is one of the main subjects of aesthetics. It's basically the study of beauty. What is and what ain't beautiful, and how do you know, and how can you tell, and who says? Not just how do you know and how can you tell, but like who says, and who has kind of set up these rules and regulations. And you don't have to take my word for it. You can go and do your own kind of exploration. But yeah, there's rules and regulations. And the thing about beauty is that it is such an emotional subject, and people can get into fights about what they believe is and isn't beautiful. You know, people think of beauty and they think of themselves, whether or not they're beautiful, which they kind of shouldn't, because that's kind of not the point. But it is, though. It is, but it isn't. But you should maybe be more thinking about art, furniture, architecture, even quote-unquote nature. And I say that for a reason. Is one of the main subjects of aesthetics, together with art and taste, beauty. Many of its definitions include the idea that an object is beautiful if perceiving it is accompanied by aesthetic pleasure. Among the examples of beautiful objects are landscapes, sunsets, humans, and works of art. Beauty is a positive aesthetic value that contrasts with ugliness as its negative counterpart. Now do you see, are you getting an idea of why I wanted to talk about this, or I wanted to talk about the Munsters, but really I wanted to talk about this, but using the Munsters as kind of a, I don't know what to call it, a gateway, or a red herring, or a MacGuffin, or whatever, to talk about this. What's going on? What's going on? And I know you might think, oh, come on, it's really easy to look at something and determine whether or not it's beautiful. No, it isn't. Because you don't realize, maybe not you individually, whoever's listening to this, but people in general don't realize or don't stop to think how many things and how many different factors influence their idea or ideas of what is and what ain't beautiful. Judgment, taste, whatever. Different intuitions commonly associated with beauty and its nature are in conflict with each other, which poses certain difficulties for understanding it. On one hand, beauty is ascribed to things as an objective, public feature. On the other hand, it seems to depend on the subjective emotional response of the observer. It is said, for example, that beauty is in the eye of the beholder. I could keep reading, but I guess you get the idea. What makes something beautiful? To the individual and to the collective, like the culture, the whole culture that you're, maybe a part of, whether you know it or not, whether you like it or not. And if that group of people or that entity or that society or whatever consider any given thing beautiful, and you don't agree, what happens? Well, first of all, do you let people know? Or do you keep your thoughts to yourself in a situation like that? Let me go back to the picture. Let me go back to the picture. Let me go back to the picture. Yeah? Do you see what I'm getting at? So that's why I think that, I don't know, I haven't done a whole bunch of research on this. Haven't looked for academic, scholarly essays that talk about aesthetics by using the Munsters as an example. But, if there's somebody out there, don't you dare steal my idea. If somebody out there, no, don't you dare. Unless somebody's already done it. If somebody's already done it, then I retract that statement. But, and there's a lot of people, a lot of philosophers who have dealt with this idea, both, in going back to the ancient world, like Plato, okay, and then even more recently, like as it says here, Sigmund Freud, Jacques Lacan, who else? Danto. Where I saw him here somewhere. Yeah, him. Okay. All right. So something's going on. If we need to do this, right? If the whole world has decided to dedicate a branch of philosophy to deciding or trying to figure out or decide whether or not any given object, item, thing, a noun, as long as it's a noun, deciding or determining whether or not it's beautiful, and figuring out the rules and regulations of that, and explaining those rules and regulations as they change throughout history. This is a massive undertaking, and it's lasted for centuries. Some would say millennia. Ooh, what's going on? What's going on? What's going on? What's going on? Why? What is beauty? And how do we know? And why is it important? Doesn't even matter. Like, take your focus off of this. Yes, vast resources have been dedicated to this, but why? That's what I want to know. Why? Why? The visual world that surrounds you on a daily basis is man-made, and it's made with these ideas in mind by whoever it is that made it. And so what do these ideas mean? How do they affect your life? How do they affect everybody else's life? Is that important? How and why lives are affected? And if this is affecting them, I think that's important. We need to discuss this more. We need to discuss this more in depth and figure out what in the world is going on. Let me rattle off a couple of more of these links that I'm going to put in the description of this video. The basics of philosophy. I'm going to click link to this. Introduction. Aesthetics is a branch of philosophy concerned with the nature and appreciation of art, beauty, and good taste. Oh dear. Good taste. It has also been defined as critical reflection on art, culture, and nature. The word aesthetics derives from the Greek aesthetikos, meaning of sense perception. Along with aesthetics is part of axiology, the studies of values and value judgments. There you go. There's the word value. 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 How is the value of anything determined? I don't mean just whether or not it's beautiful. Value when in the kind of common everyday connotation of that word, we usually associate that with money. How and why does any given thing cost X amount of money? And how is that price determined? What is it? Now, who knew how quickly and how easily and how sneakily the study of aesthetics and the appreciation of art, beauty, and good taste, how quickly and again how sort of how sneakily it could turn into this study of economics. But that's why I'm here, though. That's why I'm here. Go back to the picture. Go back to the picture. Go back to the picture. Okay, let me open it. Oh, it's too small. It's always too small. Why can't they get a nice big one? Oh, here's a good one of the family. There, I'll put that. This is interesting. This is interesting. Economics. Yes, I said economics. Ethics. Ethics. Along with ethics. Did I say aesthetics? I probably did. Along with ethics, aesthetics is part of axiology, the study of values and value judgments. So ethics, aesthetics, value judgments. Yes, it is connected to economics. How is value determined for anything? Whether it's an intangible value, allegedly, such as how it makes you feel when you look at it, or how much money something costs if you want to buy it, or whatever. Think of art auctions. Think of art auctions. Sotheby's, Phillips, Christie's, whatever. How do they, where do they get those prices from? How do they determine whether or not a work of art is worth all that money? All that money. All that money. So much money. The prices that some of these works of art go for or are sold for at these auctions. These high-priced auctions that most ordinary people will never attend. You know? How do they determine the prices of these things? And I've discussed that also, at least indirectly, at least when I talk about the Hunter Biden paintings in my Hunter Biden series, and I know I need to do one more of those soon, hopefully this week. But you know, that's a big part of the controversy of his paintings. They cost a lot, and the question is why. He just started officially doing art like a couple of years ago. I don't know if it's even been 2 years. And those prices, like I said, I can't afford it. I can't afford it. Went to a home goods, or a housewares store rather, yesterday. Bought a frying pan, cost me $40. And I said, good Lord, that's a lot of money for a frying pan. But I needed a frying pan, so I bought it. So somebody like me, I don't have to worry about whether or not I can afford Hunter Biden's painting. That's never going to happen. But so I'm not worried about that because I don't have Hunter Biden kind of money. I'm okay. I'm going to be fine. But can I afford to devote my mental and emotional and psychic energy to a work of art? Even if, just I see it in a book or on the internet or whatever, the way it looks and my determination of whether or not it's beautiful and the things that surround me and my background, my education, my family life, my whatever, have contributed to what I believe is and ain't beautiful. And each and every person is like that. But it's not about the individual. It's about the collective. When it comes to this aesthetics. All right. And you can read through this. Yeah. What, again, with these questions, what is, I talk about that in one of my videos. Where is it? Yeah. What is art? There it is. Talk about it there. I think I'm going to connect to this one for your end screen, just so you can go ahead and very, conveniently, click on it. It says here, in very general terms, it examines what makes something beautiful, sublime, disgusting, fun, cute, silly, entertaining, pretentious, discordant, harmonious, boring, humorous, or tragic. Is there a connection between art and morality? Psh, oh boy. Why do we find certain things beautiful? How can things of very different categories be considered equally beautiful? Can art be a vehicle of truth? Oh dear. Are aesthetic judgments objective statements or purely subjective expressions of personal attitudes? Can aesthetic judgments be improved or trained? Wow. Yeah, I suggest you go ahead and at least skim through this. This is good. This is pretty good. You get a good education on the fly. Another link that I want you to look at is I think this is from Stanford, but the Stanford, I think it's from Stanford University, but I don't want to tell a lie. I'll include the link in the description. Stanford Encyclopedia of Philosophy. The concept of the aesthetic. Yeah. Somebody went to a great deal of trouble. This is obviously, well, maybe not so obviously. I don't know if it's an online textbook or an online sort of reading. It's geared toward education. So, and it's got a little table of contents, okay? Aesthetic, the concept of the aesthetic. aesthetic objects, aesthetic judgment, the aesthetic attitude, aesthetic experience, aesthetic value. Okay? The concept of taste. And I didn't include it. And I thought about whether or not to include it. There's a book by a man, a design critic, a British design critic named Stephen Bailey. It's called Taste, The Secret Meaning of Things. Should I Google it? I don't know. But that's an interesting book to check out. He does a great job. He does a really good job. I read it a long time ago. This one too, Lumen, Introduction to Philosophy, Unit 8, Aesthetics, Overview and Coursework. It's worth looking at. What is beauty? What is art? Aesthetic experience and judgment. Philosophers you will meet. Plato, Aristotle, David Hume, Immanuel Kant, Dennis Dutton, and Ludwig Wittgenstein. It's worth taking a look at this. Here are your key terms. Oh, Lumen. You just don't leave any guesswork. Okay. Aesthetic attitude, aesthetic experience, cluster theory of art. Well, disinterested attitude, emotionalism. Oh dear, 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 dear. Okay, you can look at all this when you have time. Yeah. Let me go ahead and do that. It's Stephen with a PH. Bailey. Taste. Yep, there it is. Taste, The Secret Meaning of Things. And this is a newer printing, I think, of this book. This is not the cover that I remember. This guy, he does a great job. Does an awesome job. So I'm going to leave this. Only one left in stock. Order soon. Okay. Thanks, Amazon. But I learned a lot from this book. He says so much while trying to appear that he's saying something else. Okay? He tries to make it look like he's saying something else. But he's really saying... No, I bungled that. He's saying something, or trying to make it look like he's saying one thing, while he's really saying something else. Okay? Can't tell you what it is. You're just going to have to look at the book. And no, this is not sponsored. So, because I just thought of it. I just thought of putting this up here. So back to the Munsters. Marilyn. You know, this is a darling show. It's a cute show, but it makes us ask some questions like, what's going on in the world? In your internal life that you have, and your thoughts, your ideas of what is and isn't beautiful, as far as art, as far as furniture, as far as hairdos, as far as food even. You know, what influences that? And are those influences okay? We never stop to question whether or not those influences are okay. And if it can influence you to prefer certain kind of art, certain kind of TV show, certain kind of, I don't know, cereal, breakfast cereal, you know, stuff like that. Can it influence you for other stuff, like really, really important things, like life decisions or what you do with your money or whatever? I know I'm not being very articulate, and I'm sorry. But this is not an easy subject to talk about. And that's why I think it's gone under the radar for so long with regard to the Munsters. This crazy family, they think they're perfectly normal. And the interesting thing about them is that they don't look down on people who are not like them. You know, they think Marilyn is ugly. And they do everything but say it straight to her face. But they still very obviously care about her, right? And every time she gets a boyfriend and the boyfriend meets the family, he runs off, and she always thinks it's her fault. She always thinks it's because she's so, what's the word? She blames it on herself, and her family blames it on her too. And they say, oh, of course he ran off. You're just ugly, right? They never even consider that the boyfriend runs off because, Herman is a ghoul. And, the family just looks very odd. And terrifying, and the house is terrifying, and all the dust and cobwebs and all the creaking stuff, it's all terrifying. They always blame it on her. And Marilyn, because she's a product of her environment, she never stops and says, hey, wait a minute, maybe all these dates, all these boyfriends run off, not because of the way I look, but because of the way they look. This needs to be studied. They're saying so much in this show, without saying it. They don't say it, they show it, which is maybe superior to, lecturing, like what I'm doing here. Anyway, oh gosh, I think I've said everything. I don't know. I don't know if any of this made sense. I don't know if I've been wasting my time and your time if you're watching this, whoever you are. I applaud Mr. Zombie's efforts. I hope he does a great job. I'm rooting for him. Yes, I'm skeptical because I'm a purist, because, I love this show. I love the show. And, he can't touch the show. The show is the show. But this movie that he's doing, let me click on this and open this up in a new tab. Oh, there it is. Okay, there's no pictures, just a little bit of information. Okay, a Rob Zombie film, The Munsters. All right. Okay. Let's hope for the best, huh? Let's hope it'll be awesome, right? Just add to everything we already love about the show, right? Let's hope for the best. Anyway, I think I will. There's another good image, them two in the kitchen. Okay, I think I'm done. And at this point in the video, I want to thank you for watching. Thank you for listening. Hope you liked it. I hope I said something that could at least spark your curiosity about something, will make you read maybe one of these links, maybe watch one of Marina Coates' videos, maybe read about the Munsters, maybe just think about stuff, right? And if you enjoyed the video, please like, comment, subscribe, and share it if you know somebody who would like this or be interested in this kind of subject matter or material. And I think that's all I have to say for this one. So until next time, I don't know what video I'm going to do next. I don't know if I'm going to do another Hunter video or maybe a continuation of what I talked about yesterday. I just thought of something that I wish I had mentioned in this Scooby-Doo and Wax Fruit video, but I'll tack it on in a I guess part 2 to this video, probably tomorrow. I'm doing a lot of videos this week because I'm punishing myself for being so lazy last week. So anyway, once again, thank you, and I will talk at you about something very soon. So until then, I will go ahead and bid you bye-bye. So, bye-bye, everybody.